Okay, so back by popular demand, we have the GT1030. If you just need a recap or you didn't see the last video, here are the specs of the GT1030. This is the MSI Overclocked Edition GDDR5, as you can see right here. I will throw a picture up on screen right now of what that card looks like. But yeah, it's just a 1030, just with a slight overclock out of the box. But just because we're different, we're going to throw an even bigger overclock on it, like if you saw in the last video, and if you didn't, I recommend you go watch that. I had an overclock of 210 and 400. It got a little unstable in the end, so we're going to dial it back to about 180 and 350. So that should be plenty fine, plenty stable, considering the last overclock was mostly stable. But anyways, we are pairing it again with the i5 4590. Granted, it was a CPU bottleneck in CS2, but I think for the other games we're going to try today, it'll be perfectly okay. But next year I will have a new test bench with a 5600X, so no more bottlenecks until, well, probably never. But again, we have 16 gigs of RAM, and obviously we have the 1030, same drivers, same everything, just slightly lower overclock and, well, hopefully less CPU intensive games this time. So yeah, with that being said, let's start with the #1 most requested game, GTA5. Okay, so here we are starting things off with the most requested game ever, GTA5. This is GTA5 Enhanced. Unfortunately, I cannot install the legacy version as I do not have enough storage on this computer. But anyways, this is enhanced, so if it can run the enhanced version, it can run the crap out of the legacy version. That's the best way to think about it, I guess. But either way, this is 1080p. We are running this with FSR Performance because if I try to apply it for anything else, such as native AA, you click apply, video memory has been exceeded. So unfortunately, that means we are stuck to FSR Performance. Luckily, it doesn't really look that bad in this game, so hopefully it'll be okay. But either way, we are running 1080p as you saw before. We are running pretty much everything turned all the way down, which, you know, it's a 1030 running GTA5 Enhanced. So either way, this is FSR Performance. Let's see if it's going to show it now. Nope. All right. Well, whatever. Either way, this is FSR Performance. We're going to start the benchmark right there. 1% lows already down into the 40s, which I don't think is right. There's no way. Yeah, I don't know if I believe that. But either way, unless, well, there's a little bit of micro stuttering, I think. And yeah, I think my theory of micro stuttering is definitely reasonable when you look at that VRAM usage and how it's right at 2 gigs of VRAM usage, which is what this card has. It's only 2 gigs. But either way, as you can see, we are running in the mid... Oh, never mind. Oh, coming back up. All right, I was going to say mid to high 50s, but then we dropped instantly into the 40s as soon as I started. Fuck you, Lamar. So yeah, in the city area, it's going to be more intensive than, say, Sandy Shores or, you know, anywhere out there where there's a lot less things to load in. It's going to be a little better in terms of performance, but as of now, in the city, this is probably going to be worst case scenario over here in the city, and then vegetation will probably be similar, but we're going to go find out. But anyways, as you can see here in the city area, we are dropping into the 30s. 1% lows are down to 31 FPS, which is still, I would consider this playable. This is supposedly FSR 3 performance, which I don't know. It doesn't really look like it to me, to be honest with you. It doesn't look like FSR performance, but okay, if it says it is, I'm going to believe it. But either way, this is supposedly FSR 3 performance. Don't quote me on this. But now I actually want to double check because it was on it before. Yeah. So this is AMD FSR performance. So actually, this is a pretty damn good implementation of FSR in my opinion. This looks far from the worst I've ever seen. This is definitely far from the worst. Now, granted, I've definitely seen better, but I've also seen much worse, so I guess it, could be worse. On a positive note, though, the CPU is not a bottleneck like it was in the GTX 960 video. If I remember, I will link that and the previous GT1030 video down in the description. And if I don't, I'm sorry, but I'll try my best. Let's try not to hit anyone because I don't really want the cops on me. Well, shit. Too late now. Well, either way, let's head over here to the vegetation area on this mountain because vegetation in GTA 5 does tend to be pretty intensive. I think with a lot of games, vegetation tends to be pretty intensive. I'm really hoping the collard greens that was playing in the background doesn't cause any issues, but the game volume is relatively low. I'm talking over it, and there's probably going to be background music added in when I edit this video, so I don't really think it'll be a problem, but we're going to find out. Plus, I can't get this video monetized anyway because I don't have enough subs, so it doesn't really matter. Either way, coming up this mountain here, we are sitting at 60 frames a second. Okay, so apparently a bush fucking stops a 3,000 some odd pound car right in its tracks. Alright. So, as we can see, we are actually not dropping as much as I was expecting. I learned this area from Z-Worms on YouTube. If you don't know that guy, you should go check him out. He does a lot of benchmark videos. Yes, it's not dropping as much as I was expecting over here. It was dropping more in the city area. This car is actually a piece of shit when it's stock. Franklin's car is actually such a piece of shit when it's stock. But yeah, anyways, GTA 5 is running perfectly fine. I don't really have any complaints with this. We have Cyberpunk coming up next, maybe, or last. I don't know how I'm going to edit this video. I think Cyberpunk's going to be last, but we're going to play one more game, and then we're going to play Cyberpunk. So yeah, let's move on. Alright, next up we have Beam.NG Drive, and we are running Beam.NG Drive in the windowed mode because windowed mode just seems to work better for this game. I don't know, full screen's always been kind of weird for me, but either ways, it doesn't really matter, I guess. We are at the low settings preset, which everything's pretty much set to low. No fancy effects, no real anything. And we are on the most intensive map, which is West Coast USA. This, in my opinion, is the most intensive, or second most behind Italy, but I didn't feel like waiting 8 hours for this to load in Italy because this is only a quad-core i5 from quite a few years ago. So even this map took a few minutes to load, so I don't really want to sit here any longer, and honestly, well, this performance is already bad enough. I don't really need to see much worse than this to know the limits of the card, I guess. So this is fine. This will do. Either way, we are running this fairly well at above 30 frames a second. This is actually the same graphics card I used in my first computer I got, which was a small form factor Dell Optiplex with a Q6600. I just plopped in this 1030 and it actually ran pretty much any game fine, which, back in the day it was, oh, can I save it? Oh, I saved it. Let's go. Back in the day, I wasn't really playing many intensive games, so the 1030 and Q6600 setup was actually pretty damn good. But times have changed, and I've gotten older, and now I play more intensive games, and the 1030 really isn't viable at all anymore for gaming. But anyway, well, actually wasn't when it came out, because it was never made to be a gaming card. But anyways, we are running out of VRAM, which is not surprising because it is only 2 gigs of VRAM on a big map like this. Yeah, so it seems like the 2 gigs of VRAM on any graphics card are really going to be a limiting factor before much else. Definitely the case on the GTX 960 that is sitting next to me. If you haven't checked that video out, you should go check that video out. Link down below if I remember. Either way, it is running fine just for shits and giggles. Let's go ahead and add in some traffic. I'm really hoping this doesn't completely butcher my processor because this is only an i5 4590. So I'm really hoping this doesn't create a CPU bottleneck. If it does, well, oh boy. Okay, we don't appear. Okay, let's start that. I completely forgot to start that. 1% low is already down to 7. Not a great start. We are definitely stuttering a bit, but our processor is also struggling a bit too. Yeah, I honestly think traffic might not have been a good idea considering we are now stuttering a bit more. The averages are kind of around the same. Yeah, I don't really know if it was worth adding traffic, but either way, this graphics card, it does run Beam.NG Drive. Beam.NG Drive I would consider to be playable enough. It's perfectly playable. I mean, you can even run traffic on a 4th gen i5. Now, granted, it's only like 3 cars, but oh, the processor usage is coming down. Okay, so it just needed a minute to load everything in. All right, well, I guess this is kind of a CPU test as well. So yeah, you can run Beam.NG Drive on a 4th gen i5, which is still nice to know. But yeah, now we are definitely GPU limited. We are down to 31 frames a second. So yeah, either way, this game is still playable on the 1030. Now, granted, you will not be turning the settings up to say high, or you won't be having a high refresh rate experience either way. But you can play this game on low settings and have it still look remarkably decent. So yeah, with that being said, I think we should move on to the last game, which I believe should be Cyberpunk. If I edit this video correctly, it'll be GTA5, Beam.NG, and then Cyberpunk. That's if I edit it right. But anyways, with that being said, let's move on to our final game, Cyberpunk 2077. Holy fuck. Alright, here we are in Cyberpunk 2077. And to go over the settings real quick, we are running with FSR 3.0 set to quality. Everything is set to the absolute lowest. We're going to turn this up a little bit though. Everything is set to the absolute lowest in terms of visual quality. We also have the 720p resolution, and my mouse just died. Alright, come on. Just please survive this one benchmark. We also running 720p, no VSync obviously because VSync sucks. We are running NVIDIA Reflex low latency because without it, it kind of feels like shit. But yeah, this is Cyberpunk on a GT1030. Wow, the processor is not liking this. Well, no, okay. Well, we're back to GPU bound. We are not running into a CPU bottleneck, it does not appear. Actually, we are. Oh my god, I did not think. Alright, well, I did not think the GT1030 was going to be too powerful for an i5 4590. I did not see that one coming. But yeah, it's either that or we are running into a VRAM bottleneck, which is entirely possible because... Can I get out of the car? Can I get out of the car? Thank you. I don't know why I have to hold it for so long. But anyways, actually I don't think it's a CPU bottleneck considering the CPU is only at 60% utilization, although it could still technically be a CPU bottleneck. So either way, I don't think the performance would change much if you had a better processor or not. You might see slightly higher. Oh yeah, let's start that. Oh well, 1% lows instantly down to 18. Alright. GPU utilization is not fully maxed out all the time, which, like I said before, can indicate a CPU bottleneck. Although I find that highly unlikely considering we are only at 20 frames a second. And yeah, it's an older i5, but it's still a quad-core i5 that isn't horrific by today's standards. It's still kind of usable, right? Damn, I just broke that guy's ankle. Oh my god, he just sent his ass right into the pole. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't really think Cyberpunk is exactly playable. It's just... if it was even just 5 FPS higher, I would say it's playable. But when you have dips down to the, 16 frames a second, like you can see right there, it's just not, I wouldn't really call it playable. Just for shits and giggles, we're going to turn up to nothing because my mouse is fucking garbage. Performance FSR at 720p. So now we are running below 360p, I think, in terms of actual render resolution. Either way, it's pretty freaking low. And unfortunately, we are only seeing a couple FPS improvements. So yeah, it's not a CPU bottleneck, I'm pretty sure. If it was, I don't think the frame rate would go any higher like it kind of is. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just down to only 2 gigs of VRAM, possibly optimization because it is a 1030. It is a 10 series card in general, and 10 series don't really get optimization updates anymore. So it could be a combination of the two of them, honestly, but I don't think it's a CPU bottleneck at only about 20 frames a second. I just don't think it's possible. Like, this CPU cannot be that bad, right? Uh-oh. 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 This car is the biggest piece of dog shit I have ever used in this game. Anyways, yeah. I think we have seen enough Cyberpunk, and I think it is time we draw our conclusion once again on the NVIDIA GeForce GT1030. Can you run modern games on a 1030? Technically, some modern games, yes. You can run it on a 1030. You can technically run Cyberpunk. Would I call it playable? Absolutely not. Even if you had a better CPU, even if you had DDR4, DDR5 to help with the overflow, the VRAM, it's not going to matter. It just, the GT1030 is old. It wasn't powerful when it came out. Near a decade ago at this point, I think. So yeah, unfortunately, the GT1030 is pretty much at the end of its life, it seems, even with a pretty decent overclock, because it came with one from the factory, plus the one I put on it. You're really not going to squeeze much more out of this card. So if you have a 1030, I feel bad for you. You might want to upgrade. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any other game suggestions, any other suggestions in general, comments, ideas, whatever, please leave a comment. I always read all the comments. I like all the comments, unless they're hate comments, because then that's mean. But for the most part, I read all the comments. So yeah, drop any comment suggestions down below. I'll read them. But yeah, subscribe, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.